Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to Ms. Noelia Musanak.
Thank you, Missy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Noelia Musanak, and I am a data dissemination specialist with the United States Census Bureau. I am one of several specialists throughout the country that are available to conduct trainings, give presentations, and provide assistance with several types of stakeholders. I particularly am responsible for the state of Florida and Puerto Rico, but our colleagues definitely share properties from time to time, so you can definitely reach out to any one of us for help. So I want to thank you for attending today's webinar covering Puerto Rico by the numbers. So I'm going to give you a little bit of housekeeping. Just remember that we are going to have a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, it'd be best to hold off. Write them down, jot them down, but let's hold off until the end. I may be answering your questions in some upcoming slides, but we will have a question and answer session up at the end. So let's go ahead and go through our agenda. So we are going to do a data census overview. We're going to go over some census geography, particularly the geography that's created by the Census Bureau, and I'll speak to that when we get to that slide. I want to share with you some differences and different purposes between a decennial census and the American Community Survey and the Puerto Rico Community Survey. We'll talk about some online tools and resources, and then as promised, I'll reserve some time at the end for questions before we wrap up. So let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to start with an overview about the U.S. Census Bureau as a whole, and yes, we do more than just count people. The Census Bureau is actually the largest of 17 primary federal government statistical agencies. During the decennial census, which just happened in 2020, it's the second largest employer in the United States. Now, while we're best known for the decennial census here in the state and Puerto Rico, we also conduct more than 100 censuses and surveys of households and businesses across the nation each year. This includes the American Community Survey and the Puerto Rico Community Survey, and more than 30 other household surveys. We also conduct over 60 economic programs, with the economic census being the largest and the most comprehensive. And FYI, the results for the economic census of 2022 for Puerto Rico are estimated to be released in June of 2025, so look out for those. So overall, the Census Bureau's mission is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people and economy. And our goal is really to provide the best combination of timeliness, significance, quality, and cost for the data that we collect and the services that we provide. Now, let's look at some census geography. So geography is very important for us here at the Census Bureau. Geography drives how we collect data, how we build it all up to get to the national level. So if you follow the spine of this slide, you can follow it from the national level all the way down to the census block level. However, you can only get to the census block level data when we have a decennial. All other times, the lowest geography we have is the block group. So under nation, we have regions. We have our 4 regions in the United States. You can get data at the regional level. Then you can get data for any one of our states. You can get data for any one of the counties in this country, or for counties, when we're looking at geography for Puerto Rico, those are our municipios, right? So that's what you're going to click on if you're looking for a municipio of Puerto Rico. Then we have our census tracts. Census tracts are small statistical subdivisions within a county with populations of, say, 1,200 to 8,000 people. So think your small towns, your rural areas, your neighborhoods. Our block groups are a group of blocks within a census tract with about 600 to 3,000 people. And then last but not least, the lowest geography that you see on this chart is your census block. And it's the lowest geography, and as I said, that data, the data for it is only produced during the time of the decennial. Now, in Puerto Rico, A few of the other geographies are named differently, as I mentioned with the municipios. Another difference that I think is important that you should know is that barrios or pueblos are referred to as places. Just keep that in mind. And then this screen shows how smaller geographies are nested inside other geographies. So this geography nest, you can see that this geography nests within each other. So in this census geography, you can see here on the right side, the census block 3001 with its boundaries. That census block joins other blocks and they become a block group. And so those block groups become together with other block groups to become a census tract. And now that census tract is nested into a county or a municipio. So let's begin now with a comparison between the decennial census, the American Community Survey, and the Puerto Rico Community Survey. So let's start with the decennial census. A little history. The first census of the United States was conducted in 1790. It occurred every 10 years, with one form being used to collect data from all households. From 1940 to 2000, the decennial census included a short form used to collect data from all households and a long form that was used to collect data from a sample of households. So the long form approach worked well at first, but the data became less and less current as the decade progressed after each decennial census. So in the early 1990s, the demand for current nationally consistent data led policymakers to consider the possibility of collecting social, economic, and housing data continuously throughout the decade. So after a large-scale demo in 2000, the ACS was then fully realized in 2005 and began collecting data for all of America's communities each year. And we also have our Puerto Rico Community Survey, which is the equivalent of the ACS in Puerto Rico. So let's move on a little bit to the basics of the American Community Survey. So the ACS is the United States' most current, reliable, and accessible data source for local statistics on critical planning topics. The survey continuously samples roughly 3.5 million addresses each year to produce annual social, economic, housing, and demographic estimates. And this data is used to distribute more than $2 trillion of federal government spending each year. Now, our estimates cover more than 40 topics, and they support more than 300 known federal uses and countless non-federal uses. The one-year estimates, which combines data collected over 12 months, are available for geographic areas with a population of 65,000 or more. The one-year supplemental estimates are a subset of detailed tables that are available for geographic areas with a population of 20,000 or more. And then our 5-year estimates combine data collected over, you guessed it, 60 months, and they're available for geographic geographic areas of all sizes down to the census tract and block group level. Now, the content that's collected by the ACS can be grouped into 4 main types of characteristics. We have our social, our demographic, our economic, and our housing. Our social characteristics include topics such as education, marital status, fertility, veterans, disability status, and place of birth. The ACS also collects the basic demographic characteristics collected on the decennial census, such as sex, age, race, Hispanic origin. The economic characteristics include topics like employment status, income, commuting to work, occupation, industry, health insurance. And then last but not least, we have our housing characteristics. And these include tenure, information about the occupancy and the structure itself, which includes the home value and the housing cost. As I mentioned before, each question on the ACS is used for federal and state government programs, and these topics are used to produce more than 1,000 tables for local communities, leading to more than 11 billion estimates each year. Now, this is the Puerto Rico Community Survey. As I said, it's known in Puerto Rico as la Encuesta Comunidad de Puerto Rico. like the American Community Survey, it provides data on a yearly basis. It really informs communities about information regarding any change that's been occurring within their geography so they can make informed policy decisions. The Puerto Rico Community Survey is a part of the American Community Survey. It was actually customized rather than just merely translated and then distributed in Puerto Rico. So we actually took the time to look at the concepts in the American Community Survey and whether or not they translate for Puerto Rico. And in some instances, they just didn't. So we customized it for Puerto Rico. The form itself, the Puerto Rico Community Survey, is produced in Spanish and English, and some of the data points that we collect, as you can see here, ranging from age down to race to disabilities, is the same type of data that's collected in the American Community Survey. Now, there are some distinct differences between the American Community Survey and the Puerto Rico Community Survey. Obviously, the first thing that jumps out is the color of the form. The American Community Survey is green. The Puerto Rico Community Survey is in purple. The American Community Survey is distributed and printed in English, but a respondent can request it in Spanish, and that's available. Contrarily, the Puerto Rico Community Survey is printed and distributed in Spanish, and a respondent could request it in English. The data collection also differs a little bit. With the American Community Survey here in the United States, we collect data electronically by internet, by snail mail, or in person via in-person follow-up. And so there's 3 opportunities in the United States that you have to respond to the American Community Survey. The Puerto Rico Community Survey only has 2 methods. We do not have data collection of the internet availability at the moment, so we only collect it by mail or in person, but hopefully we will have that available soon. Another difference is that the American Community Survey sample size, as I said before, is about 3.5 million addresses, and the Puerto Rico Community Survey is much smaller. It's 36,000 addresses throughout the island. And you can learn more about those by visiting census.gov and learn about the difference about the, both of these surveys. So let's talk about the difference between the American Community Survey and the Puerto Rico Community Survey and how they are different from the decennial census. So what is our purpose? The ACS and the PRCS estimates are based on a sample of the population, whereas the decennial census is based on the official count of the entire population. The ACS and the PRCS collect information that previously appeared on the census long form, collecting that detailed social, economic, housing, and demographic characteristics, whereas the census collects basic demographics via the short form. So that's age, race, sex, Hispanic origin, household relationships, etc. The ACS and the PRCS produces population and housing characteristics, whereas the decennial census produces population and housing total. And the ACS and PRCS occur annual, reflecting a period in time over which the data is collected, whereas the decennial census occurs, of course, every 10 years, and it reflects just a point in time, which is typically Census Day or April 1st. So when you put all of this information together and organize it in a way that works best for your research, you can do things like look at how the population is aging. We can look at health insurance coverage by age. Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Is it staying the same? We can look at population 65 and older who are living alone. Does that merit some attention? And if you look to the other side, we can look at data like grandparents as caregivers. We can look at the number of children living in poverty. Clearly, these are just some of the trends that you can track observing American Community Survey data as well as Puerto Rico Community Survey data. So let's look at some examples. So this is a cursory snapshot of Puerto Rico as a whole with the most recent numbers available and highlighted. We see that the population and people of the entire island is over 3.2 million. We see that 29% of the educational attainment have bachelor's degree or higher. And before I move on, under the numbers, under the figures, you can see the table that the information came from, and they are clickable online. With housing, we can see that there are over 1.5 million housing units. We can see information out about the business economy and how many employer establishments there are. There are over 47,000 employer establishments. We can see information on income and poverty. We see that the average household income is $24,000. We see that the employment rate is just 141.9%. We see that the island, that 5% of the island is without healthcare coverage. And we see, of course, we expect this, that the majority of the island is of Hispanic or Latino race. So this information I got by going to data.census.gov and viewing the Puerto Rico profile. So here we have the population pyramid. It's population by age and sex in Puerto Rico. So what was the average age of Puerto Rico according to the 2021 5-year estimate? So at the time of these estimates, the age group for men with the largest population was 20 to 24 years of age with just over 115,000. And the age group for women with the largest population was 60 to 64 years of age with more than 120,000 in the population. I found that interesting that the women are most populated in their later years than in their earlier years. Now, you can also find this visualization on data.census.gov also in the Puerto Rico profile page. So here we have the number of veterans living in the municipio of Manatí, where my roots lie. This is a snapshot from the dashboard view found on QuickFacts. The QuickFacts data access tool provides users with easy access to basic population, business, and geography statistics for all states and counties, and for cities and towns with more than 5,000 people. It's great for making quick comparisons between 2 to 5 geographies, and it's really, really easy to use. So in this view, which is the dashboard view, I can see the table, a map, and a chart for my selected geography. The table shows an overview of statistics for Manatí, while the map and chart specifically shows veterans residing in nearby municipios. Census Business Builder. So Census Business Builder is designed for users needing data such as potential customers, similar businesses, and consumer spending to help start or grow a business, or to better understand an area's business landscape. So here we're showcasing the number of restaurants in Manatí and the number of restaurants in the neighboring areas. So true story, as I mentioned, my family is from Manatí, specifically a little place called El Cantito. So when deciding to open a restaurant in Puerto Rico, we use CBB to determine what our competition looked like, what the consumer spending looked like, the saturation of the business within our desired area, and a bunch of other things that led us to our grand decision. Using all the data that we found on CBB, we opened El Cantito Cafe, except we opened it in Yonkers, New York. But without the tool, we might not have been able to be as successful as we are today to be able to place our establishment in a location that would be fruitful for us. So Census Business Builder is obviously a great, great tool to use in Puerto Rico. So here I'm showcasing the percent of households receiving food stamps or SNAPs broken up by municipio. And I got this from data.census.gov as well. So we can see that the darker the blue, the higher the percentage of food stamps or SNAP recipients. Now, we can expect to see the white concentration in the San Juan area, right? As we know, this area is tourist central, and the cost of living in this area is expected to be higher. So we're not surprised by the fact that there aren't as many food stamps or SNAPs recipients in that area. But how about the other lighter areas throughout Puerto Rico? You see at the bottom left, at the bottom right, down towards the south. I wonder if there's any relation to the locations of airports and the increase in property acquisitions in those areas. You should check that out. So let's talk a little bit about the data tools and resources. So this is a small list of some of the tools that I use to get the information that I have today. So this is by no stretch of the imagination the extent of our data tools, but I want to highlight some of the data tools that you can go and access data about Puerto Rico, right? But these are the tools that I use today to collect the data that I showcase. However, I must apologize that the Census Survey Explorer is under repair, so I couldn't show it to you, but I give you a snapshot here. They are fixing it, but you can use it to figure out what data is available based on your filtered criteria. It helps you search a little less. So if you put in the information that you're looking for, it'll give you a list of the surveys that match that data. So I think that's pretty cool and definitely worth mentioning. Now, if you wanted to get in touch with us, you could definitely scan this barcode. I'm sorry, I've got the wrong slide. Look at this. But anyway, my name is Noelia, not Ana Maria. You can contact me directly via email. You can go to 844-ASK-DATA, or you can also visit us at census.gov/Census Academy. So speaking of Census Academy, I want to make sure that you know about the fairly new virtual hub that aims to inform you how to make use of the data that the Bureau collects. So the Census Academy Hub features free digital content, particularly courses, webinars, and instructional videos that provide information about how individuals can access and use the data. So with Census Academy, let us show you how to find and use census data for your everyday uses, including informing your business plans, supporting grant proposals and research projects, developing apps, urban development planning and services, and tons more. So whether you're looking for economic data or demographic data, Census Academy can definitely teach you how to get what you need for your various projects. A cool thing that's been happening in Census Academy lately is that we've been dropping what we call data gems in Spanish. So data gems are like short little clips of how to access certain data, new information that we might have, and now we have some in Spanish as well. So if we have a community that needs to have this information in Spanish, we're able to provide it, and we are looking at increasing the library of Spanish products. So that was pretty easy. That is Puerto Rico by the numbers. So Jolie, do we have any questions in the chat or any comments?
I am not seeing currently any questions. There was a comment that they found that your restaurant being placed in Yonkers, New York was too funny. I am not seeing any. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat or in the Q&A. Misty, do you see anything?
No, just the one. I'm sorry if anybody had a time confusion. We always have our webinars set on Eastern time. So I know one person came in late, but this recording will be up on our website within 2 weeks along with the presentation. So you can always come back and listen to any portion that you missed.
And we will be posting the PowerPoint, right, Misty? That was another, I think, question that just popped up.
Yes, that will be there with the recording as well.
Right. Also, you can also reach out to me at any time if you have any questions, if you think of any questions later. Let me put my correct information up. And then also we have several webinars upcoming. This is one of the beginners in a long series, and I think the girls are going to put up a link where you can register for further webinars. Actually, I have one tomorrow. highlighting the same information that we covered today, but I'm going to go in a little deeper. So I'm going to actually go in and give you demos and show you the tools, and then we can probably pull in some examples from the audience.
Noelia, I'm seeing more questions that I didn't see pop up in the chat. So people didn't put them in the Q&A. They put them in the chat. So my apologies. Here we go.
No problem.
So do we have any statistics about students attending college? Someone asked about crime-related statistics, and then disability data.
Yes, yes, and yes. We can definitely get information regarding educational attainment. We can find that in several of our data tools. If you're looking for it quickly, you can find it in Quick Facts, and there's a tab specifically for educational attainment. And actually, you know what? We have the time. Let me give you a quick preview of some of the tools really quickly. Bear with me one moment. Okay, should be connecting. I apologize for the delay, but while it's in delay, let me just give the caveat that when you are searching for census information, like remember, you saw all the different locations, all the people that we cover, all of the properties, the households that we cover. It's a lot of information that the U.S. Census Bureau covers and that we maintain. So sometimes when we're going into our data systems and our data tools, you might get a little pushback, especially when we're dealing with Puerto Rico. I will say that. Just give it time, let it load up. If it's not working for you in Microsoft Edge, try it in Google Chrome, try different browsers, whatever might work for you. Looks like I'm having trouble just sharing my content to begin with. Let's try one more time. I'm going to share my application, and we're sharing the screen. Sorry, guys. In the meantime, while I'm trying to load this up, what other questions? We have crime-related stats. We can find that in, I believe it's in data.census.gov. We have a lot more disability data. We can find disability data in detail in data.census.gov. We can get cursory data in Quick Facts. Let's see, does the zip code tabulation area is only zip 5 or the more granular zip? Yes, it is only zip 5. Sexual identity data. We have some information coming out, and honestly, I don't know much about the information as it's coming out. So, Felix Roman, I will, if you don't mind, email me your question about sexual identity data, and I can more specifically get the information that you're looking for and be better to give you a proper answer. Could I speak on the data collection itself in Puerto Rico? I cannot, just because I don't know what their non-response numbers are at the moment. But what I can speak on is I also serve as a translator or a Spanish speaker on our call line. And a lot of times I get calls, the majority of the calls that I get actually are from residents in Puerto Rico where someone is knocking on their door and they're attempting to collect the the Puerto Rico Community Survey information from them. And now, just like anyone, it's, somebody strange is knocking on your door, and especially when, you're not an English speaker or you're not familiar with the survey itself, and the survey may seem a little invasive to a stranger. It's information that they ask about your household, and you don't want to share that with the guy who knocked on your door, right? So they call me to find out if it's valid, if it's not. So I'll just take this opportunity to say that if you or anyone who has had that experience, there are ways to verify that. We should always have identification, and there are numbers on the Census Bureau where you can call and verify that one of the persons that knocked on your door is actually a field rep of ours. But I would expect that would have had an effect on the non-response rate. But I will see what numbers I can get, and I will give you guys a follow-up on that as well.
Noelia, it's Jolie.
Yes.
Are you able to, are you able to share data.census.gov on your screen, or it's just not,
if I can
not loading?
one more time.
Because I'll try to share from mine and see if that works better, and you can direct me.
Let me see if I can go ahead. Oh, I think.
There we go.
There we go. Oh, I think Microsoft Edge was offended. So we have, this is of course, census.gov. This is our main website. And when you're looking for data and topics, you can hover over the data and maps section. Here's where you can find all of the different data tools and apps, and you can also find Census Academy. The bulk of the information that you're probably going to be looking for if you're looking for data to research is going to be, in that area. But if we go to data.census.gov, and you guys are really getting a preview of tomorrow's session, so I hope you join me. This is the main page. So it's, again, reachable by data.census.gov. It's the Explore Census Data main page. Now, I'll take you to the Puerto Rico profile. It starts off here with a search bar. So I'm going to type in Puerto Rico. And I'm going to let that load up. And I'm just going to click on Puerto Rico. And now you see all of the information that's available with Puerto Rico. You can see that there are tables and maps and profiles. And again, I'm just giving it time to load. But what I really like about this feature, this tool, is that if you scroll down a little bit, it gives you this information, the information that I shared with you before. But if you click on View Profile, it gives you a nice little resume, I guess, about Puerto Rico, a nice little profile about Puerto Rico. But again, we have to wait till it loads. And then sometimes this happens where there's not a map available. When that happens, what I will do is refresh it and see if that helps me out. Another caveat that I will say is that this tool is constantly being renewed, refreshed as we get new data, constantly being reorganized so that it's easier for you to use. There's no map available right now, do we? Anyway, that happens sometimes, but be patient with the information and it will be available. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and see if it gives me more information. It seems like everything is loading. But from here, you'd see the snapshot of Puerto Rico by the numbers that I had, where I was talking about population and educational attainment and disability. When you're on this page, you'll be able to click on those topics and access in depth all the tables that the information was extracted from. Here we go. So we wanted information on disability, right? So we went to the health section. Let me just see this a little bit to load a little bit more. Sometimes I get a little impatient, I'll admit. Okay, as we go down, as it is loading, it seems like there's nothing available right now. As it's loading, you see these little headers up at top. You can click on them and it'll take you to the portion where all of that information is. So if we're looking at information on disability, it'll be under health. So if I click on health, it'll take me to the portion of this page where health is and hasn't loaded yet. And I apologize again, and I think it also has to, boom, disability. It has to do also with the fact that we're live streaming. So here we have information on disability. The disabled population in Puerto Rico is over 24% versus 13% in the United States. And that you can find that in table number 1810 in the American Community Survey estimates. If you click on that, it'll take you right to the table. And it'll give you also the opportunity to see it as a map, but I don't want to risk that now. but I'll scroll down a little bit more. We will see the types of disabilities in Puerto Rico. The percentage of hearing difficulty, vision difficulty, cognitive difficulty, ambulatory difficulty, et cetera, et cetera. Also, as you, if you're on that main search on the home page, you can type in the variable that you're looking for, and a lot of times it's pretty good with not having to be so specific as far as the words that you use. But if you put in disability, it'll give you pretty much everything that we have related to disability. I'm going to move up and see what other information. I just want to give you guys a look at it, but it looks like it hasn't loaded pretty much yet. But definitely encourage guys, go to data.census.gov. You could probably be on it right now, and it might be working better for you. But once we're all off, check it out. Go in and play for it. Start, if you're looking for information about Puerto Rico, just type in Puerto Rico and then click on profile and get to clicking. Make sure you have something to drink, a snack, because you're going to get lost in information. So I am going to stop sharing. Do we have any more questions, Julie?
Did you see I just want to make sure that we covered, there was one related that was a little more technical related to, is all information collected made public, or are there information areas that are restricted?
So all of the information is public up until it can identify someone, right? Because we're protecting people's privacy. This is a lot of information that we're asking. If we collect data, and once we put the data together, the data is presented in such a way where you could easily guess who the data is applying to specifically, then we can't include that data. That data has to be excluded. So we do exclude data to protect privacy.
Great. Noelia, there's a question, does the zip code tabulation area, is it only zip 5 or for the more granular zip 9?
No, it's just the 5.
On the sexual identity data, I'm not sure if you mentioned that we collect data, right? Currently, we collect data by biological sex and not by gender. But there's research ongoing right now into the collection of gender data. I think we covered most of them. You mentioned students attending college. I was having trouble just now with data.census.gov loading the filters too, so I'm not sure what's happening.
Okay, so it wasn't personal. I feel better. Yeah, that like I said, we have so much information, and we're working so hard on making sure that we, keep you updated with the most recent data. So there will be a lot of times where, things are down, such as the Survey Explorer, data.census.gov wasn't working today. So we're not making a good impression if this is your first time with us, but we promise that once we get things running, you will be very, very happy we have to offer.
Someone asked about personalizing the filters or fine-tuning the search engine, and I'm listing a link to sign up for additional webinars that will be helpful for that information.
Yes, thank you. Yes, you can definitely personalize your filters. Now, I didn't go into it today because I'm planning on going into it tomorrow. But if you do an advanced search instead of the cursory search that you saw me perform today, it'll give you options to select your different filters. So you can select your filters by year, by geography, by topic, by survey, and you can go ahead and mix and match all of the things that apply to your research, and it will return all of the data that we have available that matches that. So yeah, there are definitely ways to filter it, and that's why I say bring your snack next to your computer because you're going to be there for a while. just because it's a lot of data and it's easy to get into a rabbit hole. Okay, so I think that if we don't have any more questions, again, here's my email, noelia.anna.musignac@census.gov. If you think of anything later, or if you're on the website and you have questions about anything, feel free to drop me an email. I'll also be more than willing to help guide you through some things if you need to. Or you can also go to Census Academy and look at the information that we have there that might also help you navigate through different surveys, topics, and data. So I think that's all, folks. Jolie, Misty, anything you have?
I'm good.
I think that.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, everyone, for having an interest about the important data that the Census Bureau collects. The girls should have dropped a link for a survey. Please click on that link. We need to know what you liked, what you didn't like, what information worked for you, how well I did. It's the best way for us to keep delivering you information that you need in the way that you need it. So definitely help us out by clicking on that survey and leaving your feedback. So again, thanks for joining us today. And one thing I like to close out with, remember that without data, you're just another person with an opinion. And we all know what those are. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for your participation. You may disconnect at this time.